Have you ever picked up like a really nice notebook
Yeah.
or planner and it feels so good, Like,
Yeah.
oh, the paper is amazing, the cover,
Design.
everything. Yeah, the design, it's perfect.
Yeah.
But then like a few weeks later, you're like, wait a second, this binding is
Yeah, it's falling apart.
kind of, yeah, not quite what I expected. And
Yeah.
the pages are coming loose and the whole thing just feels,
Flimsy.
yeah, flimsy.
Yeah.
It's a really surprisingly common frustration. And actually, it's something that we are diving deep into today.
Yeah, binding. It's whether you are a student and you are like constantly going through notes, or you're a professional relying on your planner, or even someone who designs these things, the binding is like, it really is like the unsung hero of the whole
Absolutely.
situation.
Yeah,
When it fails, the whole thing just falls apart.
totally. And we've been looking at some really interesting information, actually, from Leo Shia, who's a CEO with like over 20 years, I think, in this whole world of paper manufacturing and supply chains.
Okay.
And he is highlighting this as like a persistent problem. So today we're going to kind of go on a mission. We're going to understand like why traditional binding methods just really fall short.
Right.
And explore, potentially a game changer here. So
Yeah.
let's get into it. I guess like let's just start with, what are these traditional methods that, so often leave us kind of
Wanting.
exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the most common one that everyone knows is perfect binding.
Right.
And so this is the one where, it's flat, it's glued.
Like a paperback.
Yeah, like a paperback book. Like most, I don't know, the majority of books that you buy, right?
Yeah.
That are not hardcover, they use this. And it's cost effective for
Yeah.
sure. For manufacturers, it makes a lot of sense. But if you look at the 2024 Paper World Industry Report, it reveals that something like over 37% of customer returns in stationery are linked to binding issues.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Mm.
And it's because, I think we put a lot of stress on that spine.
Yeah.
You open the book wide, and you're just constantly flipping through pages.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like the more you use it, the more it wants to fall apart.
It does, yeah.
So it looks great on a shelf and the cost is low, but it sounds like the durability is not really there.
It's the main problem. And I think because it just relies on an adhesive,
Right.
right? So that glue, every time you open it, every time you close it, it's stressing that adhesive. And over time, it just breaks down.
It just wears down.
It cracks, it detaches, and then you get the loose pages, which nobody wants.
Nobody wants that. Okay, so then there's the kind of the other, I guess, really popular option, which is the plastic coil.
Yeah, the spiral.
Yeah.
The spiral binding.
And that one's nice. It's flexible.
Yeah, you can fold it over.
You can fold it over, yeah, which is really nice. But I don't know, I feel like sometimes they just kind of look and feel a little cheap.
They do.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, if you're investing in something that you want to be high quality,
Right.
it's almost like the plastic kind of brings it down.
It cheapens it, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, and then there's the actual, like, the plastic itself.
Yeah.
It can, it can get deformed, it can crack, it could actually just detach from the pages as well.
Yeah.
Which, again, like, it's just a frustrating user experience.
Totally.
And then for brands that are trying to have a premium product, like Leo Shia really emphasizes this,
It's not a good look.
it's not a good look.
So I guess this leads to, like, what are people actually looking for?
Right.
What are they prioritizing when they're like, okay, I'm going to choose a notebook or a planner?
What do I want?
Yeah. And I think, this is where we can look at some broader trends.
And if we look at the 2025 Stationery Trends Consumer Report, it offers some really interesting insights into this.
Okay.
So durability is by far the number one.
Okay.
89% of consumers rank it as very important.
Wow.
But then right behind that, very close behind, is aesthetic appearance.
Okay.
84%.
Wow. So both are really important.
They're both really important. And then after that, it's this kind of sense of like a premium feel and usability, which is like 77%.
Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, I think it really speaks to this idea that people are investing in fewer but higher quality items
Yeah.
that are going to last longer.
Totally.
We're moving away, I think, as a society, at least I hope so,
Yeah.
from this disposable.
Everything's disposable.
Yeah.
Everything's disposable. And then it ends up in a landfill. And
Exactly.
it's not enough for something to just look good in the store, right?
Yeah.
People are actually using these things.
Yeah.
They're using them every day. They're relying on them for, work, organization, creativity, and they need to know that it's going to hold up.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. The report actually points out that these expectations for quality and durability are especially high in places like North America and Europe.
Right.
So really, premium stationery in these markets, it has to be both stylish and durable.
Yeah.
You can't have one without the other.
It can't just fall apart.
Right, like if it's beautiful and then it falls apart, nobody's going to be happy.
Right.
So I guess the question becomes, is there a binding method that can do both of these things?
Can it be beautiful and durable?
Yeah.
That's the question.
And this is where I think ProBind360 kind of enters the picture.
Okay.
And our sources are describing this as a solution that kind of like rises to this challenge.
Okay.
It's a premium metal coil binding, and it's specifically engineered to, not fall apart like the other methods.
So it's metal, not plastic.
Yeah, it's metal.
Okay.
And I think one of the things that's really interesting in the way they describe it, they say premium metallic coils, and then they say manufactured with advanced machinery.
So it's not just like any old metal coil.
Right, exactly.
They're really trying to emphasize that there's something special about it.
Yeah, there's something specific and precise about how they're making these, which
Yeah.
I think, leads to the next point, which is it's actually really durable.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, metal is pretty durable.
Yeah. So if we look at the 2025 data from the Stationary Quality Control Labs,
Coil.
yeah, CL, they found a 75% reduction in issues
Wow.
when using metal coils compared to perfect binding or plastic.
It's a huge difference.
That's a really big difference.
Yeah.
And they also looked at the average lifespan under stress.
Okay.
So for ProBind360, 96%, integrity rate, which I guess means like,
So only 4% failed.
yeah, only 4% of the pages came detached under stress.
Okay.
Plastic coil, 67%.
Oh, wow. That's a big difference.
Yeah, and then perfect binding, only 59%.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So it's, it's clear.
Yeah.
It lasts a lot longer.
So the premium aspect, though, is not just the durability, right?
Right, exactly.
So how does it look?
It's also the appearance.
Yeah. And they talk about these like glossy colored coils
Yeah.
that are meant to complement the paper.
Yeah, like high quality paper.
Right, the paper that you would find in these nice notebooks.
Right. And, I think it's interesting if you connect this back to what we were just talking about what people want. The appearance is a big deal.
Right.
And the 2025 customer surveys from Premium Stationery Insights say that, metallic binding actually leads to the biggest increase in how valuable people think a product is.
Really?
Yeah. So for metal coil, a 68% perceived increase in value.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And then plastic was only 22%, and then perfect binding was only 18%.
Okay, so people are really noticing and appreciating the look of it.
Yeah.
So it's not just it looks nicer, but they're actually willing to pay more for it.
It seems like it, yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Which is really interesting. So I guess, beyond just, is it going to fall apart and does it look good? There's also like the actual experience of using the notebook.
Right, so the user experience,
Right.
does it feel good to use this thing?
Yeah.
And this is where I think the 360-degree rotation capability of ProBind360 is really important.
Okay.
So unlike perfect binding, which is stiff and it doesn't want to lay flat, and even some plastic coils, like they can snag, they don't always turn so easily.
Right.
These metal coils, because of the way they're designed, it's smooth.
Okay.
You can open it, it lays flat.
It lays flat, yeah.
Yeah,
That's actually really important.
it is.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
Yeah, because if you're in a meeting, you're trying to take notes.
Yeah,
You don't want to be wrestling with your notebook.
exactly.
Or if you're sketching, and you want to use both pages.
Double page spread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference.
Huge.
And the 2025 Planner and Notebook User Experience Report found that people are a lot happier with this kind of binding.
Okay.
So ProBind360 had a 94% user satisfaction score.
Okay.
Plastic coil was 71%.
Okay.
And then perfect binding, only 60%.
That's a massive difference.
It's a huge, yeah.
Like just that little detail can make people that much happier with the product.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I think so too. And, obviously there's another big thing that people think about these days, which is, being environmentally responsible.
Sustainability.
Sustainability, exactly.
Yeah.
And it seems like ProBind360 is also addressing that.
Okay.
So they talk about the fact that they only use recyclable metals,
Okay.
specifically either bronze or aluminum,
Okay.
and they are compliant with, ISO 9001.
Right. So that's the quality management.
Yeah.
Yeah.
California Prop 65, which is like the materials and safety.
Right. Yeah.
And then CPSIA, which is the consumer product safety. So, they're hitting all these different certifications to make sure that it's,
Responsible.
responsible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's got to be like a huge selling point, I think, for a lot of people these days who
But
want to know that what they're buying is.
yeah, consumers are much more aware of their footprint
Yeah.
than they used to be.
Yeah.
And so knowing that the materials can be recycled is a big deal.
Totally. Okay, so we've looked at all this data, we've looked at all these features, but I guess the question is like, what about in the real world?
Right. Does it actually work?
Does it actually make a difference?
Right.
And there's this one example that is really interesting about a North American retailer
Okay.
who switched to ProBind360 for their annual planner range.
Okay.
And within 6 months, they had an 82% decrease in returns
Oh, wow.
because of binding issues.
That's huge.
That's a massive change.
That's a lot of unhappy customers that are now not returning things.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing.
And they also had a 45% positive increase in product reviews that specifically mention the improved durability.
Oh, wow. So people are noticing.
Yeah.
They're actually writing about it in their review.
Yeah, and I think that word of mouth is so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like if you see a review and someone's like, oh, this is amazing, it's so durable.
Yeah, you're going to be much more likely to buy it.
You're going to be way more likely to buy it. But I think the biggest thing is that their sales went up 27%.
For the whole planner.
For the whole planner, yeah.
Just from changing the binding.
Just from changing the binding.
Wow. Okay. So this is actually a big deal.
It is a big deal, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess, bringing this back to you, our listener, like, why does this even matter? Why are we talking about this?
Why should you care about binding?
Yeah, why should you care about binding?
Well, I mean, whether you're involved in, creating products, or you run a business that offers stationery, or if you're just someone who likes a nice notebook.
Likes a nice notebook.
This is something to think about.
Yeah.
Because ProBind360, it's not just, okay, here's another binding option. It's more than that. It's kind of a strategic advantage.
Right, yeah.
It solves problems.
Yeah, it's solving those problems like customer complaints, returns, the things that are just headaches for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the other thing is, you can charge more.
Right.
If it's a better product.
If it's perceived as being higher value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it seems like it is.
Which it is, yeah.
And I think the other thing is you can actually reach more customers if you're doing this.
Yeah.
Because you're getting those people who want something beautiful.
Right.
But you're also getting those people who, are like, I use my notebook every day and I need it to last.
Yeah, it needs to be durable. Yep.
Yeah. And actually, it's interesting. The company that makes this, Lion Paper,
Okay.
they have production in both China and Cambodia.
Okay.
And they have, all the international certifications.
Right.
So they're thinking globally about this.
Yeah, this isn't just a small niche thing. They're trying to, make a difference.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess, to kind of recap everything we've talked about, we went over the limitations of traditional binding.
Yeah.
Like perfect binding, which is kind of...
Cost-effective but flimsy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plastic coil,
Flexible, but, it can break.
Cheap looking.
Yeah, cheap looking.
And then, we really went over the fact that people want things that are both high quality and they want them to look good.
Right.
Like that's a big thing that we're seeing.
Yeah.
And then we looked at ProBind360 as this potential solution, and we went over the data about its durability, the fact that it looks luxurious and people perceive it as valuable.
Right.
The fact that it's so easy to use because it rotates 360.
Yeah.
And then the fact that it's also, environmentally responsible.
Yeah, hitting all the points.
Yeah, hitting all the points. And then, we even saw how that North American retailer actually had huge success when they switched. So I guess just a final thought, something to think about.
Yeah.
Think about the things in your life that use binding.
Right. I mean, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's books, it's notebooks, maybe even reports at work or packaging.
Follow.
And have you ever been frustrated because something wasn't durable enough?
Right.
Or have you ever been impressed because something has lasted a really long time?
Yeah.
And just think about how important is it to you to have something that looks good,
right,
but also lasts a long time.
Right, that you can rely on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much does that little detail actually impact how you feel about the product?
Yeah, the binding, it really is a small thing.
But it is a small thing.
As we've seen today, I mean, it can make a huge difference.
Yeah, it really can. It can make a huge difference in how much you enjoy using something and how long it lasts.
Absolutely.
So that's something to think about.
Yeah, food for thought.
Food for thought.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Of course.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.